Okay, here we go. Welcome back to the Divine Deception. When we last left off, we were faced with the existential question. We were given the choice of whether or not to bet, which means Easy already knows the answer, which means we're probably betting a losing bet here. I guess we'll find out if it's a losing bet if we actually get to bet chips on it. But since it's a bet, I decided to take her up on it, and ask you what we should do. So, this one was tight. This one was very tight. So, that was a wild episode yesterday. Last time. With Locke versus Odin Deisma. It's like it's a hell of a wrinkle thrown into Locke's story and Locke's quest for Panthea domination. Which also begs the question, now that Locke knows what the deal is here, there's the potential for Locke to understand, to figure it out, how to handle. I guess what I'm trying to make is now that Locke knows what he's up against, there's a chance he can figure out how to deal with it. Pull off the greatest con. But then again, there's always the chance that this city is in itself something so much bigger at this point that any resistance is insurmountable. That, in the grand scheme of things, any resistance that we put up is just going to get quashed. Like, we can't, as individuals, make any sort of systemic change on our own, with our own individual efforts. Maybe that's the lesson we're getting at here. But alas, I guess that's a message that's been on my mind for a while. In a few similar games I've enjoyed recently. While we can't make any widespread systemic changes by our lonesome, we can still change ourselves for the better. That's the glint of hope to take from something like this. I don't know if that applies to this game directly, but anyways, back to business. Would Locke win or would Locke lose? If Locke had another chance at this, Locke would lose. A cynic, huh? Well, it's a cynical world. And your bet then? Okay, 51 chips. And we had 8%. Oh. So we're throwing 4 chips into this. Okay then. You know, we as a society love to idolize intelligence. We'll have this idea that there are these natural-born geniuses that can make their way out of any situation, so long as it's reasonably possible. And sure, talented individuals who can overcome situations that most would falter at certainly exist. You're speaking with one, after all. The way we conceptualize it is all wrong. The use case of these so-called geniuses comes in the ability to make informed decisions in split-second scenarios, and always be angling to keep them in favorable positions out of bad ones. They can't hope to face down years of practice. In contrast to natural genius, the strength and potential of long-form practice is often downplayed in society, except by those who are acutely aware of what such practice can do. I feel like both Locke and Odin have that sort of long-form practice down, except in the case of their encounter in last video, Odin had many, many more years of the long-form practice than Locke, and many, many more years of practice in the specific area that Locke was facing in that gamble. So that maybe we're getting at that if Locke had time to practice, he might be able to approach the game differently. No natural genius would even be able to hold a candle to an experienced chess player at a game of chess. Natural genius wouldn't find themselves having to play against the chess player in the first place. Similarly, Locke's mistake in this scene was not any particular blunder. It was underestimating just how much Odin had played star alignment. As it happens, Odin had played star alignment for many years against many different players. You'd have to play a couple dozen times before even standing a chance. I highly doubt Locke would be able to beat Odin after 5 attempts, much less 4, much less 3. Certainly not 2. Looks like you win. This feels cheap, a win like this. Hell yeah. But I proposed the bet in the first place, didn't I? Only myself to blame. Well, add that to the stats. Okay, so we gained 4 chips out of that. Hell yeah. Well, guess it's Vel's time. Time to fight. Kicker. How much longer do we have to stay here? I'm just saying that there's but so long I can look at the same clothes. Give it an honest try. Don't say that I didn't, but I kind of feel like I want to stick with my own fashion style. I mean, I picked it for a reason, you know? I like what I wear. Even if I was to pick something different out to wear, it sure as shit wouldn't be from a common brand store like this. All the shit here is totally white bread. Anyways, my point is, I've looked over everything they have here, like 10 or 20 times at this point. It's old. It's boring. I'm bored. Krish, do you like being alive? Need I really point out that we're not doing this for fun? We are doing this because there is a gang of very violent, very resourceful criminals looking to find and murder you. We are laying low right now. Okay, fair maybe. But like, if our plans are just to lay low in a random store, couldn't we also lay low in other places? Like a movie theater. No one's gonna look around at an active movie. Not if they don't want to be booed. Ah, yes. Booing. The ever-effective gang repellent. I'm just saying it's dark, it's crowded, it's a good place to hide. It's also a good place to get killed to death silently. It'd be way more interesting. We'd have to buy tickets. That leaves a trace. Given the current state of things, I think we should consider keeping our money a priority. Fine, movie theater's off the table. But like, there's gotta be other places that are more interesting than this. And to get to them, that requires us leaving the store we're in right now. Which means we could be seen. Which means we could get caught. We're not gonna risk our safety going out in the open just because you have the attention span of a child. Hey, you don't have to be a dick about this. You're talking about not arousing suspicion, but I'd say just standing around in the back of a store not buying anything is gonna raise eyebrows. From who? The minimum wage employees. With the old manager that looks like they're barely clinging to life. I'd be surprised if he could even see us from this distance. Don't say shit like that. Respect your elders. I didn't have it in me to argue at this point. We're staying here. Fine. Krish sat down with a surprising amount of sass. By that I previously didn't think you could sit down with sass. I stood corrected on that point. For my part, I just held back a sigh. I couldn't exactly blame Krish for acting out like this. Better than straight-out panic, which would be a reasonable enough reaction to everything going on. After Yi's goons scattered, I left my hiding spot, grabbed my phone, and contacted Krish. They needed to know what was going on ASAP. The two of us met up close by, and in person I described everything I saw. They had a hard time accepting it all. Particularly the bit about Yi ordering their death. But they also didn't doubt that I was telling the truth. they were on their own, they probably would have just moped around, stunned for a bit. They might have even decided to confront ye about this face-on, though I'd like to think even they weren't that dumb. It was clear I had to step up. First things first, we need to get out of sight. I didn't know how quickly the Duats were going to act on the whole kill order thing, but I had to assume the worst. The Duats had a lot of members, and exponentially more agents willing to give them information. As Krish had just demonstrated, they were a reasonably known entity in Panthea. They certainly stood out. It wouldn't be long to locate them. We decided to rush over and hide out in a random clothing store. It seemed like a good place to lie low. It was unlikely the Duats would think to look here. It didn't seem like the type of place their information network would be regularly hanging out. However, this was far from a permanent solution. I knew that. Krish knew that. Neither of us wanted to state it aloud, but it had to be discussed. This wasn't some nightmare we'd wake out of. We had to make active moves to prevent this. We need to think long-term. Long-term? Or at least stay long-term. Where are we going to spend the night? Sleeping on the streets seems ill-advised. Yeah, the Duats can definitely find us there. Alright, well, my pop's place is absolutely out. Not only would they be expecting that, I have no intent of getting remotely involved in any of this. Going there would expose them to danger. I agree, that's a bad idea. What about your place? Krish, the Duats will be looking in the places they think they can find us. We need a better solution. Alright, well, how about a hotel? There's a bunch of places for visitors to stay around Panthea. We just reserve a room for the night. I got cash. Again, Krish, they're thinking about where we're going to go. After the usual suspects come up empty, I bet officers will be interviewing just about every hotel owner in the city. It might work, but it's too high a risk. Okay, then maybe we break into someplace? There's gotta be some abandoned apartments or houses or something. We take over one of those. Do I even need to explain why that won't work? I don't see you suggesting any bright ideas. I'm the one who's doing all the work right now. If all my ideas suck, then why don't you speak up? I think you should flee the city. What? That's not... Krish, I know you love Panthea, but it's not safe for you. So you're saying we just completely bail? How do you think this is going to play out? You got dozens of people out there, right now, looking to murder you. You're a target, Krish. There's a hit out for you. Think that's just gonna go away? Think life can return to normal after this? God damn it, this is do or die. You can't die, so you have to do. I know, I just... Fuck, man. Fuck. Krish could barely face me. Yeah, it was starting to sink in. Krish was scared. I couldn't blame them. It was a fucked up situation. I'm sorry. What? I'm sorry. I'm responsible for getting you sucked into all this. You're right. You warned me about this activism, and you told me not to trust ye, but I just wouldn't listen. I just had to stick my head where it didn't belong. Once again, dumb Krish ruins everything. But this time you're involved. Now things are fucked in a way that can't be walked back. Krish was on the verge of tears. The taxi, it won't cost much to get to the city's borders. Due to tensions with rival gangs, I'm pretty sure the Duats' influence is pretty squarely stuck in Panthea. Like you said, there's always hotels. Just find a place out there. After that, you can work things out. It's gonna be alright, Krish. Just need to be smart. Stick with me, and we can survive. Say, Vels. Yeah? You watched the whole thing with Yi, right? Right. And you called the cops early on. Yeah, I told you all this. So you were waiting to jump down and try and save us, right? Waiting for the right time to fight back? That's why I jumped down when your life was in danger. Okay, right. But then doesn't that mean you could have jumped down when my journal was about to get tossed into the fire? Yeah, that hurt to watch, but... What was Krish getting at? I could have. I also could have jumped down when you were getting the shit kicked out of you by Yi as a punishment. Right. It's just, you knew how much that journal meant to me, Vels. How much I cared about it. But it fucking sucked when Yi tossed it into the fire. It's an asshole for that. Because your life wasn't at stake, it wasn't worth exposing my position. Wasn't worth it? Krish, every second I could delay my attack was a second gain for us. I didn't know how long it would take for the police to get here. My decision was correct, if you remember. I could only hold Yi's goons off but for so long. When the police arrived, Yi had just regained control of the situation. Had I jumped in earlier, the scene would have continued to play out. Is that what you wanted to have happen? No, of course not. You're absolutely right, Vels. You did the rational thing. You were correct. I get that it's a bitter pill to swallow, and I'm sorry, Krish. I sensed there was something lying beneath those words. I also sensed I probably didn't like whatever was beneath them. I was hiding in a confrontational mood, so I had half a mind to push the issue again. However, it was at this opportune, or perhaps inopportune time, that something else caught my eye. Someone had entered the shop. Judging by who they were walking directly towards us at this very moment, I had to guess it wasn't for clothes. Krish also realized the approaching presence and assumed what looked to be a fighting stance. The person before us probably wasn't some Duat agent. Our would-be assailant was a younger woman wearing a punk rock outfit who had her hair dyed bright pink. As she laid her eyes on us, she was very unamused. Oh, hello. Chara? Hey, what are you doing here? She just looked over at us, bored. She didn't even bother saying anything. I feel like we've seen her before, but I don't remember where. Speak up! Krish's shouting was beginning to draw something of a scene. I thought about taking over negotiations. As I started to open my mouth, I closed it again. No. Not gonna say anything? Alright then, I get it. Put him up. Krish went from a casually on-guard position to a straight-up combative one. Krish? Have you know I'm a world-class fighter. Yeah, you're not fooling anyone. My friend here ain't a slouch either. Plus it's 2 versus 1. You really gonna start a fight in the middle of a store like this? That's your play? Good question, Chara. Given the gathered employees looking on at us, that probably wasn't the best of ideas. Unhappy, Krish relaxed some. An awkward pause passed between the 3 of us. Well, the 2 of you are done being proper idiots. Shall we get going? She said this like it was the obvious next step. The hell do you mean? There's not a chance in hell we're going anywhere with you. Alright then, fine with me. Want to stay here and get murdered by the Duats? That's no skin off my back. Just thought I'd give you the option. After saying all that so matter-of-factly, she turned around and began walking away without so much as a glance back. Unorthodox, to be sure. Awkward glance passed between Krish and myself. Both seemed to be weighing our options. Trying to understand the situation. Ultimately, there wasn't much of a choice. Given how dire things were, Krish was willing to take any thread of hope tossed their way, no matter how tenuous. Hey, wait! Krish called out, and Chara stopped gracefully in her tracks. Well... We'll go with you. For a moment, Chara just looked at us, saying nothing. Then she resumed walking out the store. Brilliant. Awkwardly, the two of us followed her out. Certain Krish didn't have the faintest idea what was happening. Their mind was probably racing right now. I say that with an air of superiority, but being honest, this situation was pretty much a total mystery to me as well. Guess the only option was to see how things played out. Parked right outside the store was a flashy-looking red sports car. Whoa. When I was skint, I always envied people with nice cars like this. Now that I've got some cash to my name, I figured why not grab one for myself. Without any more explanation, Chara circled the car and got into the driver's seat. Meanwhile, Krish and I awkwardly made our way to the back seat. Buckled up, and Chara pulled out into the street. This was really bizarre. There was no good reason why Chara wasn't explaining shit to us. I just had to hope this was some quirk of her personality. We drove in silence. Chara zoomed through the Panthean streets. In an odd stroke of luck, we weren't running into any red lights. The whole experience felt off. But not even in a bad way. It just sort of felt unreal, like we were in a trance or a dream or something. We changed the pace from the very real situation we were in not moments before. Krish fidgeted around in the seat. They were very clearly uneasy with this setup. And so the whole trance thing was more of a me thing. Oh well. For my part, I passively looked out at the Panthean streets. For as long as I've lived here, I so rarely actually just looked around. There are a couple of shops. Some very elaborate graffiti. Oh, there's Olympo's main office building. A little extravagant, but you couldn't deny its charm. There are some more buildings. You know, I always questioned why Krish seemed so infatuated with this place. For this one drive, I could kind of see their point. There's actually something beautiful about this place, beneath all the crime and conspiracy and whatnot. I could actually imagine some less informed citizens blissfully unaware of the other side of Panthea, who legitimately thought this city was idyllic. I could only envy them. So, this is a bit awkward, huh? Krish, in place of admiring the scenery, had been growing increasingly uncomfortable with this silence. To try and break it, they spoke up. How so? I mean us, just sitting in silence. You don't find that awkward? Not particularly. I don't mind a bit of banter when with friends. But seeing as I don't know either of you two, forcing us to chat just seems like a bit of a pain, you feel me? Well, if we were talking, might as well broach the topic I wanted to bring up. You're right. Excuse me? Good enough to speak up, mate. Can barely hear you. You're right. You don't know either of us. That raises some questions. We're finally getting around to this, huh? How did you find us? When you entered the store, you clearly knew that we were here. I thought we covered our traces pretty well. Clearly not well enough. Yeah, about that. See, one of my friends was at you guys' little dumbass gathering. After that went to shit, she was kind enough to call me up with all the deets. Once I finished laughing my ass off, I figured this was as good an opportunity as I was gonna get. Obviously, you two were toast angering the Duats like that. You're not answering my question. How did you find this? Chara kept one hand on the wheel, and with the other she thumbed back at Krish. Your friend has his phone on him. Wait, seriously? I looked over to Krish in anger. You didn't think to tell me this? You didn't ask! Why does it matter? Yeah, you might want to toss that pretty soon. If I can use it to track you nitwits, the Duats will be on that soon enough. Yeah, Krish, throw it out the car right now. What? This thing's fucking expensive! Not the point. There are memories on this thing. They're on the cloud. Throw it away, Krish. Krish looked at me with fear in their eyes. If Krish didn't throw it away, I would. Accepting defeat, they rolled down the window and tossed the phone out. There, happy? That? Well, it definitely wasn't the ideal way to dispose of a phone, but I guess it'll work well enough. Okay, look, could we quit focusing on it? You're some sort of super hacker and you found me through my phone. Got it. Super hacker is overselling it. Just a bit of light hacking. You haven't really answered my question, though. Isn't this the ex-Olympo? Is this the ex-Olympo person who we met in Olif's story through forums and who may have been involved in the theft from Olympo in Laverna's story? No. Thought it was pretty clear how I found you. Okay, that question, sure. My main point is that you still have a lot to explain. You're right. I could explain now. Chara began to bring the car to a stop, parking it. We could just get there and things would make sense then. I knew where we were. We were by the entrance to the forest. Things were getting weirder and weirder. Who's up for a little walk? Better not be a long one. Relax, the place we're going is real close by. After my fight, I wasn't exactly in the mood for a walk. We've come this far. So Krish and I, still with no real context or say, followed Chara deeper into the forest, walking the beaten trail. Luckily for us, Chara wasn't lying. It wasn't long until he took his turn off onto an offshoot of the main path. Once we walked a bit of that, I could see a relatively large house sitting in a clearing. Well, compared to the size of some of the buildings in the forest, it really wasn't that big considering. But it was nothing to slouch at. This is where we're heading? Behold, my friends, the estate of the late Veronica Collins. Since she's passed, my boss has been renting it. It's our base of operations. Your boss? Instead of responding, Chara just kept walking towards the house. It was becoming clear this was something of a theme with her. When we were this close, it was better to just walk a couple more feet than press the issue. If I was going to get up in arms about waiting for answers, it probably would have happened before now. Instead of approaching the front of the house, we circled around the back to where the garage was. Chara took a small remote out of her pocket and pressed a button. Just like that, the garage opened. Actually, what was a house like this doing with a garage? Was there a car parked in here? I doubted it. That there were in fact roads that cars could drive in the forest, but I hadn't seen any leading to this house. As the garage opened, my suspicions were confirmed. No cars. Has this house been here for so long that there used to be an opening for cars to drive out of and the trees have grown over that area? Or was this just an oversight when building the house? Was an opening for a car planned? This was perhaps not the detail to get caught up in, considering that Deisma was the man standing inside the garage. Eh? I had a tendency to get caught up on the minor details. Anyways, Deisma. That was a thing. My boss. Krish's demeanor noticeably changed. Oh, so you actually brought them here. You doubted me? No, of course not. I've been taught my lesson one too many times for that. Just surprised that they came so willingly. Yeah, well, if I knew who we were visiting, I wouldn't have come so willingly. Seems to me like you've got something of a grudge against me. Krish, remember, please remember, tenuous situation, tread carefully. Of fucking course I do. God damn it. Why'd I be happy to visit a fucking Deisma? The company's killing Panthea. Yeah, that's pretty valid. Huh? I mean, if I were you, I'd probably hate me too. I'm not a bad guy, trust me. Hang out with me for a bit, and you'll see that I'm not like my family. That's so. Oh, well, I'd like to think that. This wasn't the time for this sort of chat. I still want an explanation. Ooh, ditto. Huh? An explanation. I like being in the loop a lot. Wait, you don't know what we're doing here? I mean, I got the general gist of it. Sorta. Okay, being real with you, I didn't realize it was a conversation I had to pay attention to until, like, halfway through. Krish nodded sagely, as if they understood this practice. I'm pretty sure even from the start I was only getting the basic rundown. That's because I only had the basic rundown. Chara turned towards us. Care to tell the story yourselves? Huh? What, so we just spill everything just like that? Krish. I gave them a determined look. This wasn't the place to fight. I'd gotten the vibe that we wanted to be winning points with Polly right now. Just give him a rundown. Krish evaluated this. They clearly didn't like the idea, but they also trusted my judgment more than they trusted their own at this point. Alright. I mean, it's not a very long story. There's this guy, Mr. Yi. I sorta, looked up to him, trusted him. He was a Duat member, but he told me that he wanted out of the business. Gathered a bunch of people who were fed up with the Duats, and we were gonna meet to talk about ways of resisting the gang. The whole time, it was a trap. She brought his henchmen, and they surrounded us and threatened us, and then he beat me up. And I punched him. Vels here punched a bunch of his guys. The cops showed up and we scattered. But Vels stuck around and overheard that the Duats put a hit out for the two of us, so he had to flee. And now we're on the run, because they're trying to kill us. And that's it. Wow. That's... Polly seemed at a loss for words. Wait, so a Duat member told you to gather up a bunch of people who had expressly anti-Duat sentiments? That did seem, I don't know, a little dodgy to you. It did. I exchanged a look with Chara. A sort of mutual understanding passed between us. I got the vibe that we were actually, in a weird way, in pretty similar situations. That really fucking sucks, guys. I don't know what to say. They're just trying to do the right things. And those bastards. God, I fucking don't understand why the Duats aren't just in jail. Like, they're criminals, for God's sake. Aren't jails for holding criminals? I don't get it. Yeah, you and the rest of us. Man, fuck. Just hearing that has got me fired up. Alright, it's decided. You two are being hunted by the Duats? Right. Okay, then you can stay here. What? What? Are you serious? Why do you think I brought you all the way here? I don't know, I thought we were gonna get killed or something. And you entered the car. You were intimidating. And Vels did, so I thought there was a plan or something. Hold on a minute. I've got a number of questions. Please, ask what you want. This was too good. First of all, is this actually safe? Duats are really good at finding people. We'll be searching all over the place. Last thing I want is for us to feel safe staying at this random house in the middle of the forest. Just get killed in the middle of the night by a set of particularly intelligent Duat members. That wouldn't be good for any of us. Yeah, shit, that'd be bad, huh? I mean, they need to know you were here, right? I don't think that should be possible. I mean, you guys were probably smart enough to ditch anything that could be tracked ASAP, right? I shot Krish a dirty look. They conveniently let their gaze wander to the ceiling. Not like there's any connection between me and the two of you. The only people who know about you two being here are the four of us currently standing in this room. You guys obviously aren't going to tell. I'm not going to tell. We can absolutely trust Chara to keep a secret. So, yeah, this should be good. Whoa, you're right. We don't have to leave Panthea after all. Of course, there needs to be some ground rules. Let me be clear. If the Duats find out that Polly is sheltering you two, that's going to fuck us all. We can't get cocky about this. This means that until further notice, you aren't allowed to leave the house without getting approval. We wouldn't want you to be spotted by the odd informant. Fine by me. I mean, not fine. But, like, I can swing it. Also, this should go without saying, but no phones. We'll just have to use the technology already available in the house. Which shouldn't be a problem since there's a frankly offensive amount of it here. Hey, what did I say? This is why you get spares. When guests come over, suddenly you're the host. We're the most. That's... Chara rubbed her temples. So Polly is still Polly. Polly's not secretly double agent, hiding his apt planning and planning and tactical brilliance here from Polly. No, he's still Polly. He maybe has a good heart, and he's maybe trying to work against his family. But he is still the goofball. The universe literally put a hit out on two kids just so a situation could crop up that vindicates your argument. You really are fucking the main character of life or whatever. Oh, don't say that. I don't buy it. This statement came to the surprise of everyone else in the room. I thought it was pretty reasonable. What do you mean? You just happened to give us refuge from the dangerous gang hoping to have us killed. On what, a whim? I don't buy it. Hey, I have the space. Why not put it to a good cause? Get a little karma on the side, eh? Okay, but Chara mentioned earlier that we were brought here for a specific reason. That reason could be to save you. Chara's a very generous person, I'll have you know. Fine. So you're saying that you're just going to let us stay here, basically as refugees, but with no catch? Yeah. Well... God damn it. Hey, look, I'm not asking you to do anything. Actually, I'm not joking about that. If everything goes fine, everything goes the way I hope, then literally you have absolutely no obligations living here. But I heard from my friend that you two were pretty good at fighting. There is a significant amount of fighting skill between the two of us. That's a very generous statement. I'm not mentioning the fact that it's all weighted on my end, but hell yeah. I suspected Krish hadn't noticed my change of wording. And that's the only qualification. I would feel more safe knowing that a pair of capable hands were sleeping in the same house as Polly. Huh? I'm confused. Let me try and explain. So as you know, my father is Odin Deisma. My brother, Art, is currently the CEO of Olympo. And you know, he's really not that bad a guy. He needs to loosen up more, sure. He's really standing to go out to party now and then, and see the world. But he's really smart. Always has been. He's a lot more thoughtful and caring than he lets on. Like he'd never admit it, but he actually looks out for you if you're close to him. People give him a lot of shit, but he never lets it get to him. But the way he's running Olympo can't be tolerated. It's unforgivable. My father is a complete amoral bastard. From birth, we were taught we were only of value if we got results. That the only way to get results was to play dirty. Art always took Odin's lessons to heart. Maybe being the oldest sibling, he thought he had something to prove. That's why he ended up inheriting the company. Given his general competence, maybe he would have anyways. Whether it's Odin's influence or not, the point is that he can't be allowed to continue to run Olympo like he has been. Which is why Polly is going to be challenging him for control of the company. I really don't like to lock horns with him like this, but it honestly has to be done. And you want us here to make sure nothing happens to Polly. Right. Wait, hold on. Am I getting this right? Are you saying that you think your own brother might try to do something to you? No. Odin will. He wouldn't. My dad, on the other hand, he would. And I want you to make sure it doesn't succeed. If that's the case, why not straight up hire bodyguards? They do the job better than us, and you clearly have the resources for it. All the traditional avenues of hiring bodyguards would probably be detected by Art. Bodyguards that are paid to protect can be paid to defect. But for the little I know, I doubt you two would turn. If Art doesn't know about your presence, chances are anybody that he'd send wouldn't either. You can't downplay the element of surprise. Understood. I think that all makes sense to me. At first I was skeptical of this proposal, but the story they gave checked out. All parties benefited. Honestly, for Krish, this was probably the best way out. It was a gift practically handed to them. However, they didn't look particularly happy. In fact, they were back to bordering on pissed. What now, Krish? So basically, you're just using us pawns in your war with your brother over power. Is that pretty much it? Typical. Makes a lot more sense than you doing this out of some sense of altruism. Tell me this, why should we be backing you in this war in the first place? You want to go back Art? Who's the stereotypical Deisma that you hate, Krish? Maybe your brother has been doing some messed up stuff. What assurance do I have that you won't be just as bad? At least Art is a good business owner. He's killing Panthea, Krish. But all I ever heard about you is that you like to act like a drunk asshole. Fucking hell, Krish, time and place, time and place. Boy, the hell gives you the right to act like that? You were dead meat. Paul here is offering you a chance to save yourself on a silver platter and you talk to him like that? Why don't I just throw you out and you can relax, Chara? Polly had a smile, but there was a bit of sadness to it. He's got every right to react like this. Krish, they are still kind of blowing this out of proportion here. I should say they're trying to cling to their old ideals before they got pulled into this death situation. I guess the reality of this is the most practical means of survival for them has not sunk in. And so, yeah, of course they're gonna get pissed at the Deismas because of their feelings toward Panthea. They have a right to bring up their journal, because that's a serious emotional blow, losing that. And it's... While Vels did make the right decision in waiting, it definitely stung. But because of how much that journal meant to them, they have every right to ask the what ifs to Krish, to Vels, I mean. Even if any alternative where Vels stopped Yi from destroying their journal would not have ended well for them. Specifically because of what that journal symbolized to them. And I suppose this, against Polly, is coming out of just their general distaste of all Deismas. I go by they, them. Ah, sorry. They've got every right. Look at it from their perspective. Why would they trust me? You heard them. I'm a drunken asshole. Look, you don't have to support me. Honestly, I wouldn't blame you if you didn't. At this point, you can stay here if you want, regardless. Knowing what I know, I can't exactly kick you out and expect to sleep well tonight. I just thought you ought to know the dangers that that option would have. You don't have any obligations to actually try and protect me or something. I glanced over to Krish. Their expression was conflicted. They might need a bit of a push. If you don't mind, Polly, would you mind explaining why you think the company would be in better hands with you in charge? Why I deserve it, huh? That's the wrong question. I just want it out of my brother's hands. I don't deserve anything at all. I've had a pretty easy life. I mean, my dad's an asshole, but whose isn't? Sure, I had to deal with some abuse on that front, but it was a small trade-off for living a lavish lifestyle. I was never good at school. Couldn't apply myself right. Never good enough for Odin. Never got his stupid games. I was a pretty worthless kid. There's a bit I really wanted to keep up with art. After the umpteenth lecture from Odin, I finally realized I really wasn't on the same level as him. I couldn't keep up with him no matter how hard. I tried, so why try? I used my wealth to play around. Skipped school, got into trouble, met girls, did what I want. Would have probably flunked were it not for my father's influence. I just became an adult and got a job at my father's company. I hated it. You know, I almost considered quitting it. I was given a super high pay and low effort job without any of the qualifications I needed for it, and I almost quit it out of spite. I was a bit too dependent on my lifestyle. I kept doing what I had always done. Having fun, shirking responsibility. It's really easy to fall into habits, especially habits developed over years and years. Having fun started taking on a new definition. Getting drunk, getting in scandals, doing some stuff that, some stuff that really isn't excusable. I mean, fuck, you've seen the headlines: DUIs, assault, sexual harassment. Oof. I still think that last one was bullshit, but I'm not gonna get into that. It was very, very bad. I was told I was a disgrace to the family, but that just encouraged me. Fuck my family. Owen always talked about being brutal, but he never had the balls to actually cut me off. If you met the me from even a year ago, I'd honestly say stick with art. You'd be in better hands. And then, it's really more of a joke than anything else, I decided to start working with a bunch of the lowest level employees. And it was pretty eye-opening. I mean, I literally had never done a hard day's work in my life. It was pretty awful at those entry-level jobs, but my coworkers didn't complain. When Odin heard what I was doing, he got upset. Art, he just thought I wouldn't stick with it for more than a day or two. Both responses just motivated me to keep at it longer. The more time I spent there, actually trying my best, the more perspective I started to get. Odin always talked about how different jobs were for different sorts of people, as if being an executive was more noble, or some shit. But that was total bullshit. The more I worked there, the more unfair shit I noticed. Shit that I was surprised people actually had to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And the more I talked with those workers, the more I realized how absolutely entitled I'd lived my life. How I'd been thrown away in opportunities by acting like an ass. And my whole way of thinking, how I'd been thinking for years, it was all bullshit. Since then I've been trying to change how I live, to be a better person. Can't say I've gotten there yet. At the very least, I can say that if I was in control of Olympo, I'd listen to my employees, unlike art. I'd focus less on making our company bigger and more on making it better. When I met with Chara, She convinced me that the best way to use my privileged lot in life was to take power and do good with it. So that's what I'm doing. Oh, and I've quit the whole drunk entitled asshole thing as well. Is that so? Okay, the gala was a one-time thing, and I had a pretty good reason. And that night in the casino? Work in progress. Like I said, I'm a work in progress. Okay, so that's timelining the current scene. This takes place after Locke's third chapter at some point. So interesting. Let's try and get to a finished state before you take over the company, okay? Chara sighed, then turned back to the two of us. I don't blame you if you weren't terribly convinced by that story. Probably acted like an asshole for a lot longer in it than he didn't. Let me just say this. Holly Deisma is a good person. He has his struggles and his issues. Lots and lots of issues. Fundamentally, he's a nice person. I've worked at the company for long enough to say this. Even back when he was more of an asshole, he was never malicious. I noticed him stand up for people when he saw shit going down. He was always quick to do favors for people, or give a compliment, or worry over somebody in trouble. I saw scenes like this all the time. I also saw him change. He's been taking genuine strides and trying to educate himself and do better. Might sound like the bare minimum, but I think somebody who has absolutely no need actually dedicating themselves to getting better at doing entry-level work is noble, in a very weird way. More than anything, he's aware of himself now, which is the biggest thing. And even if he's become more aware, he hasn't really changed. He's always been good at heart. Incredibly entitled, perhaps. Stupid, impulsive, incompetent, unaware of the actual consequences of his actions or his real place in life. But good. To be honest, even though she clearly legitimately trusted and liked Polly, that wasn't really a ringing endorsement to me. I had no doubt that Polly was nice. That doesn't really matter much. A lot of horrible people can be genuinely nice. However, it wasn't me those words needed to reach. It was Krish. You know, whenever I'd heard your name, I always just thought you were some corporate asshole. But now that I heard your story, I feel really dumb for judging you without ever meeting you. And going from entitled prick to ally of the people? That's like super impressive. Reminds me of something Mr. Yi once told me. Something like, for most people, once they're walking down a path, it takes incredible strength of will to change it. I think I butchered that quote, but my point is, I think the fact that you were able to look at yourself and realize that you weren't happy with who you were is super inspiring. Alright, I'm on board. Need a bodyguard? Then you, my friend, have a bodyguard. Hell yeah. And you also have... And then Vels pipes up, and you also have Krish, too. Polly had out a hand, and then Krish slapped it hard. Well, they changed their tune fast. Couldn't say I was overly surprised at that outcome. Here's to a beautiful new alliance, I guess. Well, good to hear that's sorted out. So you two are okay with backing Polly in the bid for Olympo? I have no problem with it. To be honest, I don't give much of a shit about personal journeys or emotional growth or whatever. From what I've heard, most people in charge will be an improvement over the current management. More to the point, Krish needs a place to stay. Having a place to hide out is the #1 priority. A pretty straightforward mindset. I'm a pretty straightforward person. I can respect that. Awesome, so I guess things are settled. You two are staying here from now on. Hell yeah! Guess we'll be roommates for a while, Vels. Hold on a minute. I let it get too far. There wasn't a better time to bring it up, though. This wasn't going to go over well. Yeah, no, there was no getting over it. Couldn't stay here. I can't stay here. What? I'm confused. Don't get me wrong, I'm very grateful for the offer. Krish should absolutely take it. Like I said, I'm willing to back you in your struggle with your brother for control of the company. If you need me to do something, just ask and I'll help. I try to spend a lot of time around here as well. But I can't spend the night here. What? Why? Seriously? The point was that you guys didn't have a place to go. Krish doesn't have a place to go. I do. How exactly does that work? Trust me, the Duats don't know the first place to look for me. I overheard them. I'm a non-entity in their eyes. Completely unaware of my identity. From the little they know, it'll be hard to track me down. What if they see you walking around? They only know to recognize me because of my red hoodie and arm tattoos. If I put on another coat, one with longer sleeves, I'm confident they won't even realize it's me. Plus, I'm not really their target. I mean, they want to kill us both. They just called me an issue. Krish is the target. It's safer for me. I guess I just don't get why you don't want to stay here. You have a problem with me or something? It's nothing like that. I just have things to attend to. Fuck that! Krish has been holding their tongue until now, hearing me out. That only lasted so long. You have a place to stay? You didn't mention that before? It still wouldn't be safe for you. The hell's up with that? Is this about you never wanting to show me where you live? What on earth are you hiding? What is it that you have to do out there? Because it sure as hell ain't a part-time job or something. No way someone as logical as you would risk your life over that. So what do you have to do? We're supposed to be friends. We're in a life and death situation together. And you're still not telling me shit. Yeah, Vels, he has a point. Yeah, Vels, they have a point this time. What on earth is that about? It's because Chara and Polly are standing right there? Fine, let's leave the garage for a minute. There's no need for that. Fuck. Are we even friends? I think so. I'm starting to have questions. You keep way too many secrets. I don't know what shit you have to hide, but you don't have to hide it from me. You shouldn't have to. Sorry, Krish. It's probably for the best that I kept this to myself. It's not that I didn't trust you. It'd just be better for both of us if we leave things like this. Eh? Hey, Krish. I'm sure your friend here has good reasons for keeping things from you. Polly was clearly uncomfortable with the atmosphere created. I know, why don't I show you around the place? You're gonna love it. This place is top tier. Got a huge kitchen, it's got a game room, the beds are awesome. If anything's not to your liking, just ask me and my credit card is at your disposal. I mean, you're gonna be staying here, it's only fair. So come on, let me give you a little tour around. Yeah, okay. That's probably for the best. Awesome. First things first, the library. Wait, you have a library in a house? Well, library might not be the right word for it. Like it's a librarian or a library card or anything. But the room has a lot of books. Really? What types? See for yourself. I haven't really gotten around to organizing them yet, so whatever order they're in was how the previous owner left them. The two walked out of the garage, Polly eager to get the tour started. I felt bad that was how I was going to leave the conversation with Krish. I'd probably have to deal with that before too long. Later. I'd have time later. I turned to Chara. I wasn't quite done with our chat. So you plan to have Polly as the CEO of Olympo? That's the plan, at any rate. It's because you think he'd be a more fair boss than Art. Yeah? Why else would I do it? Being the head of Olympo is pretty powerful. Dating the head of Olympo would make you pretty powerful yourself. Hey, we're not dating, alright? Get that idea out of your head. Sorry, my bad. Guess I misread the room. If you're insinuating that I'm doing it for personal gain, you couldn't be more wrong. Okay, no need to be so defensive. It would be a reasonable motivation. Well, it's not mine. Fair enough. Any idea how you actually intend to dethrone Art? He doesn't seem the type to be content with losing his position as CEO. Well, for starters, Polly already has a 20% stake in the company. Another 25% is distributed amongst employees and the like. I've been trying to consolidate all the spare stock. Oops. That leaves a 55% share firmly in the hands of Odin and Art. So long as the two stay a united front, the whole stock route seems like a dead end. We don't necessarily need Odin to flip, just to sit out. Did you know, in Panthea, if a shareholders meeting is held and people with stock in the company don't show up, their stock doesn't count. Odin abstained from a shareholder meeting. You just need to control 38% of the stock to make a company-wide change. Okay, but I assume that there are regulations where a shareholders meeting has to be planned out in advance and signed off on. You can't just spring one and try and sneak through a proposal. Right. In that case, you need to get Odin to abstain from attending. Which is basically the same thing as siding with Polly. So basically, you two don't have a real plan. We're in the planning stages. It's a project. Instead of pushing that angle, I had something else I wanted to ask. You heard about us from a friend. Right. What friend of yours attends an anti-Duat meeting like that? As a matter of fact, I have a number of activist friends. Who would have thought that was a surprise to you? Say, while we're on the topic of questioning each other, I've got some questions about you, Vels. Oh? I find it odd that you feel so confident that the Duats don't know about you. I overheard them say as much. Okay. What exactly do you have to do so bad? I don't think you need to know that. Don't I? No. Whatever. Just don't screw me. Wouldn't dream of it. With that, Chara turned and entered the house. And with that, I turned and left the house. As I left, I made sure to make note of the exact location of this place. It would be good to know. I'd make sure to get in contact with Krish before too long. They weren't happy with me for now, but they get over it. I wouldn't bank on that either. After enough times of that and expecting someone to get over it, eventually, some point in time, they're going to not get over it, and they're going to be justified in that. I didn't like fighting with them, but it was inevitable. Polly's proposal might have solved the problem, but it wasn't a real solution. Duats were still out for blood. So long as the root of our issues wasn't addressed, Krish would still be in danger, unable to leave hiding. As far as I could tell, Polly's war with Art wasn't going to help fix that at all, which meant the task fell to me. I didn't have an idea of how to make things right. Guess I just have to poke around. Bronski. Quite inscrutable, that Vels. Playing things close to the chest. I mean, we're seeing through Vels' eyes, and even we're somewhat in the dark. Wild. Yeah. Wait, isn't this your fault? No, let's not play the blame game. Sure, I presented things in a way. Even still, I'm not going to hide or change anything major. When to get mad at someone, Vels is the one not giving anything away, in actions or thoughts. Yeah. Now, this is interesting. Surely you choose when the scenes start and stop. Okay, fine, you caught me. I'm trying to add a little mystery to the proceedings. Sue me. Look, Vels is akin to a black box. I should clarify. Black box of information is just a term for something where you can observe the input and the output, but none of the internal processing. I suppose, philosophically, the question is, does it matter what's inside the black box? It should, right? That's our gut instinct. If what's inside the black box doesn't matter, then functionally there's no difference between chatting with a real human or an advanced artificial intelligence. Well, I suppose some people would argue that. Turing test? Electric sheep? I fucking hate sci-fi. Eesh. Ironic, I suppose. We're wildly off track now. My point is that it's our gut instinct to think that what is inside the black box matters. There are so many black boxes in the universe. Every other human mind is a black box. If you want to get creepy existential with it, everything outside your brain is a black box. You could hope what you see and what you hear matches reality. There's an awful lot of stories where that's not the case. So if the contents of the black box matter, you have to accept that you'll never be able to know an awful lot of things that matter. Rather large deal. I was gonna say, that creepy existential example, everything outside your own mind is a black box. Say, it reminds me of the Chinese room argument. Except not from the perspective of what the Chinese room argument actually is, where it's just all inputs and outputs. And just more the room, and you don't know what's inside there except for what comes through that door. Everything outside the door of the Chinese room is a black box to you. Everything in your mind is real. I guess that's the point of Easy's creepy existential argument. It's an uncomfortable thought. Maybe it's better to content yourself with the idea that only what is experienced matters. A more comforting option. Gosh, this is an awful long-winded way to say that Vels is pretty mysterious, isn't it? But it's an important topic, I think. Some may view being content to not open the black box as sloth. Lack of ambition. Information is power, after all. But I disagree. Ignorance, too, can be quite a power. You don't know what's inside a black box, you can just concern yourself with the inputs and outputs. You can use a black box guilt-free. There's power in that. But only if you care about remaining human. Interesting. I think we've said entirely what we need to say about this chapter. You can use a black box without guilt. Like that, only if you're concerned about remaining human. The human inside of us considers the humanity of the person that we're using, considers what's inside the black box. Does it matter what's inside the black box? Well, does human life matter to you? It's our food for thought for today. Till next time, though. Until then.